Zimbabwe's main opposition says the cancellation of its meeting with the envoys is an indication that President Emmerson Mnangagwa is not ready to resolve the national crisis. We're joined by the Movement for Democratic Change Deputy President Tendai Biti for more on this. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this afternoon. You had received a formal request to be part of this meeting, but alas, on the day that it's supposed to happen, you were not there. What exactly happened?
Well, we were advised that a delegation from President Ramaphosa was in the country, led by Sidney Mfumadi. We were told to wait from 9 a.m. yesterday to wait for this delegation to meet us. As you know, there's a curfew here in Zimbabwe, which starts at 6 p.m. So around 6 p.m., we then contacted the South African embassy, and the South African ambassador advised us that the envoys would not be able to meet us. But we understand that Emmerson Mnangagwa, through tantrums, and prevented the delegation from seeing us ostensibly on the reason that there is no crisis in Zimbabwe and there is no basis for the intervention, which we find ridiculous and unsustainable and unacceptable. There is a crisis in Zimbabwe. There is an implosion. The military are everywhere, suffocating people's rights. People are being abducted, tortured, sexually abused. Journalists, activists, citizens are languishing in prison. So leadership is required of the region, of Cyril Ramaphosa. But we find the actions and tantrums of Emmerson Mnangagwa is totally unacceptable and unacceptable denialism.
Did the fact that you did not meet with the envoy and the president, Mr. Mnangagwa, come to you as a surprise, or had you left room for disappointment?
Well, look, I mean, we were clearly disappointed because, you know, you can't just make an entire delegation of a team of 8 people sit for the whole day doing nothing. So quite clearly we were disappointed. But I think we were not surprised by the actions of Emmerson Mnangagwa. It has been 3 years since the departure of Robert Mugabe. But Emmerson Mnangagwa has taken our country to unprecedented levels of failure, of collapse and fragility. The amount of corruption that he is presiding over, the abuse of human rights, the abuse of workers, the misgovernance is unprecedented. He is clearly presiding over the worst government in the history of governments. So his actions and activities do not surprise us at all. But people of Zimbabwe are suffering, people of Zimbabwe are dying, their rights are being encroached on, so a political solution is as urgent as it is necessary.
Do you have hope of an MDC ZANU transitional government ever happening in the country in the absence of having the ZANU PF still in charge?
Under Emmerson Mnangagwa, we don't have hope. I think the man lives in a deluded world. He suffers from a reality-distorted status quo. But beyond Mnangagwa, I think that they should be possible to establish dialogue presided over by SADC, the African Union, in respect of which a political settlement can be reached, which establishes a national transitional authority. Mnangagwa has not reached that status quo of a mutually held, self-hating stalemate. Is delusional. So under Mnangagwa, I don't see that happening. But Zimbabwe is very fluid. People are angry. The citizen is angry, so the situation will evolve every second, because citizens will protect themselves and will exercise their right in Section 59 of the Constitution to peaceful, legitimate constitutional protest.
In an article that you penned for the Daily Maverick, you propose that there's 3 different areas of action that are necessary to get Zimbabwe on a positive path. The first being collaboration between the ZANU-PF and the MDC, and following yesterday's disappointment, so that being off the cards. The second action you propose concerns the need for a concerted economic stabilization program led by internal Zimbabwean government action.
Look, you must restore the social contract to create a soft landing for Zimbabwe. Restoring the social contract means everyone is on board, including ZANU-PF. But quite clearly, ZANU, through its leader, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is showing to Zimbabweans and to the world that it is not ready to tango. Zimbabweans will move and exclude it, and it's just a question of time. So Mnangagwa has become a premium, is putting a price on the stability and democratization of Zimbabwe. He has become the biggest threat to our sovereignty, our stability, our democracy, and our independence.
South Africa, amongst many other countries, and of course Zimbabwe, because you are directly impacted, has called for the lifting of sanctions against that country. What do you think that these latest developments will do in terms of chances of having that become a reality in the long term, at least?
I think that the world has woken up, particularly our African brothers and sisters, to the hard fact that the real sanction in Zimbabwe is bad governance, is stolen elections and legitimacy, is a terrible government. The implosion of the Zimbabwean Lives Matters hashtag, the involvement of some of your citizens, the actions and activities of actors such as the EFF, Julius Malema, Musi Maimane, is a universal call that the challenge and trouble in Zimbabwe is actually ZANU-PF, Emmerson Mnangagwa, and exhausted nationalism. That is what President Ramaphosa and the region must concentrate on. And if you see statements that have been made by the ANC itself, look at the remarks made by Comrade Lindiwe Zulu on your platform, and many other actors, including the ANC Secretary General, I think there's a universal acceptance that we must all universally reject exhausted ZANU-PF. That's the lasting solution to the Zimbabwean crisis.
How would you respond to somebody that puts forward the notion that perhaps also the MDC needs to look within because of some of the internal fractions that the party has, is not then able to offer a solid opposition in the country? Is there something to be said about that?
Look, this is a movement whose biggest achievement is actually to survive 20 years of the most brutal, fascist, authoritarian sobriquet known as ZANU-PF. As I'm talking to you right now, our head office was taken over by the military. As I'm talking to you right now, literally everyone, including myself, we have been convicted or are appearing before courts facing one charge or the other. We've had a questionable judgment handed down against us by the Supreme Court of Zimbabwe. So we have withstood the pain of autocracy under Emmerson Mnangagwa. We used to think that things were bad under Robert Mugabe, and as a matter of fact, they were terrible under Robert Mugabe. With Emmerson Mnangagwa, we jumped from the hot pan into the fire, and that's the reality.
Some have suggested that Zimbabwe is a military state disguised as a democratic state. Are you hopeful of change in the country?
There are two things that any political solution must deal with going forward. The first is the fact that Zimbabwe, for all intents and purposes, is now a securocratic state run and dominated by the military, and Emmerson Mnangagwa is just the civilian nominee of the same. The second challenge is that of corruption. South Africans are complaining about state capture, But we in Zimbabwe invented state capture. So these two things, militarization and corruption, must be dealt with and dealt with urgently.
Thank you very much for your time and giving us details in terms of exactly what happened there yesterday, where the MDC was left out of those talks between the South African envoys and President Emmerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe.